Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negro. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or are watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because here on this platform we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions. But not everyone uses logic. So that reason it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have another channel called Latina Diaspora where they discuss issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined us later today, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds. So I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. And of course, I want to say happy first day of winter. In fact, that is the topic for tonight, which is happy first day of winter celebration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you why I like winter. I'm also going to discuss why there are people who do not like winter, okay? Because not everyone likes this time of the year. And there's reasons to support why people like winter and people who don't like winter. So I'm going to be, of course, I'm going to try to be as fair as balanced, and I'm going to give both sides of the equation. But before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. Now, I think this part can be best described as how the mighty had fallen. You're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? First of all, I'm going to be talking about two teams, one of them being the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington Commanders. Okay, first of all, anyone who's been a fan of football, particularly when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, know that they have been very successful. They have won, I believe, 7 or 8 divisional titles. They have won 3 Super Bowls. And actually, there was the AFC champion last year. So they were, of course, a mighty. Now, not only have the Kansas City Chiefs failed to make the playoffs, but this is going to be the first time in several years where they're going to finish below 500. So you're probably wondering, how is it possible for a team that came very close to winning 3 consecutive Super Bowls not only failed to make the playoffs this year, but will finish under 500, which their record is now 6-9. There's a lot of factors. Players not performing, but they share injuries, things of that nature. But it just goes to show how difficult it is to continue to be successful year after year after year. And it can happen to the best of all teams. Okay. Because the reality is, once you become successful, what happens? Your competition try to become successful or as just as successful as you are. And unfortunately for Kansas City, there were players that did not have their best years. Also, that injury play a part, particularly the fact that Patrick Mahomes was injured in the last game, and it looks like not only he's going to be out for the rest of the season, but possibly going into at least the beginning of next season. So the Kansas City Chiefs will have a lot of things to consider, how they can improve that personnel and how they can do better. So hopefully next year, they will give the fans of Kansas City something to cheer about. Now, the other example of how the mighty have fallen is the Washington Commanders. Now, those of you who are familiar, they had a very surprising season last year. In fact, they made it to the NFC conference game, which unfortunately they lost to the eventual Super Bowl winner, which were the San Francisco 49ers. So not only did the Washington Commanders fail to reach the playoffs, they finished with an even worse record, which I believe it's 3-12. And of course, there are questions regarding why that team failed not only to reach the playoffs, but failed to win a winning record. Again, once you make the playoffs, it becomes it's a challenge to succeed year after year after year. Okay, so the great teams always manage to whether it be you know acquiring acquiring the right players or motivating the players to do well. Now, how will the Washington Commanders do next year? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Hopefully, they will take a look in the off season and do an assessment regarding what they need in order to become better. But it does show to highlight the fact that to be successful is a challenge, because once you improve and you have a very excellent season, next thing you know, you become the target of several teams. So only time will tell. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is I am truly humble and I'm truly amazed with the amount of support that I have received. In fact, I have gained over 200 subs this month alone, and it's through the short videos. Okay. And I think it's abundantly clear that I have two different types of supporters. I have supporters who love my short videos and express a lot of comments. And then I have those who support my lives. Now, some of them perhaps may have started watching my live streams. Who knows? But nevertheless, one thing I am trying to do is increase the watch hours, so hopefully I get to the point when I become monetized. It was never my goal to do so, but it doesn't hurt to try. And of course, one thing we have to bear in mind, we're getting close to Christmas. We're still in the middle of Hanukkah. And of course, we're also approaching Kwanzaa, okay, which is, I believe, is from December the 26th until January the 2nd or the 3rd, something like that. I will have to do a little bit of research. So we're coming to a time of the year where there's many celebrations. And of course, we have New Year's Eve. And one thing I would encourage all of you to do. Okay. Now, how you spend New Year's Eve, that's totally up to your discretion. If you are going to go out and go to New Year's Eve parties, please be mindful of your alcohol intake. Okay. I'm not saying do not consume any alcohol because many of you will. What I'm saying is, if you're going to consume alcohol, be responsible. And when I mean be responsible, first of all, if you do not operate a vehicle, if you're going to consume alcohol, and be mindful of the fact that alcohol does impair your judgment. It also impairs your reflexes, your reflexes and things of that nature. And I do know of situations where a person consumed a little bit too much alcohol and they had an encounter with a member of the opposite sex and decided to engage in outdoor activity without any protection, and which resulted in a unplanned pregnancy. With that, I'm just simply saying there's nothing wrong with having a good time. Just be responsible. And if you know you're gonna be drinking, by all means, take a cab home. You have Lyft, you have Uber. Okay, make sure that you get yourself home safely. Okay, so because your loved ones and your friends will want you to get home safely. And the final thing that I wish to talk about, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you do know people that this is not a happy time, people are sad, people are lonely, by all means, please try to reach out to them. Okay. Um, Let them know that you care. Let them know that if they want, if they wish to have it, discussion with you, be there and don't be judgmental. Okay, because we got to understand that for some people this is not a happy time. People are lost loved ones, people dealing with illnesses and things of that nature, people also dealing with mental health issues. So let's show a little bit of love and a little bit of compassion to those people who are hurting at this time. Now, with that being said, we're going to get to the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit the link and opine regarding the topic at hand, they may do so. Let me make this equally as clear. If I never see you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage and make sure that no one tries to uh, display any pornographic images which would cause the people of YouTube to take down their stream. Now, once I made that determination that you're not going to do that, then let you on the planet. Okay. Um, I get it. There are people that don't want to cam up. I'm not asking you to cam up, but I am insisting that you camp on the backstage. And of course, it's all necessary to make sure that this is a place where people can express their views freely. Now, of course, I have been known for many things. Okay. One of the things I have been known about is the fact that I love the cold. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, to be fair, I'm going to talk to you about the reasons why I enjoy the winter, but at the same time, I'm also going to share why there are people that don't enjoy the winter. Okay. Now, the reason why, the first reason, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The first reason why I like the winter is that I love cold weather. I have no logical explanation to far as to why. It's something that I have known for a considerable amount of time. To me, what it does when it gets colder, it puts a little pep in my step. It motivates me to to go out there and face the elements and things of that nature. I know there are people that don't like the cold, and believe me, I'll mention that part. Okay. Another reason why I love the winter is, of course, you have a lot of holidays coming up. Okay. First of all, you have Hanukkah, which is the festival of lights, which is um, an 8 day celebration, and what it is, it's a just to give you a brief history. Um, After the children of Israel fought for their freedom, they decided to light a menorah, which is a candle. Now, which have 9 lights, 4 on each side with one in the center. Now, they only had enough oil in the menorah for one night, but through miracle of miracles, it lasted for 8 nights. So what they do is, of course, they each night they light the menorah, and then there are certain prayers that are attached to it. So that's one holiday that many people enjoy. You know, it's mainly a Jewish holiday, but there are non-Jews that help celebrate it as well. Of course, another holiday that occurs is Christmas. Okay, now I get it. Many people observe Christmas in different ways. Okay, uh, for many people, this is a time to be with family and loved ones. This is also a time to make presents. It's also a time to enjoy some good food, good company. And for some people like myself, it helps us to remember the fact that Jesus was born. Another wonderful holiday is, of course, Kwanzaa, which is an African oriented holiday. I'm not too sure what it is. I know I have discussed it in other streams. I don't remember off the top of my head. And of course, um, January the 6th, we celebrate, which is known as the Feast of the Epiphany, which is otherwise known as Three Kings Day, which is also commonly known as El Dia de los Reyes Magos. That's when we celebrate the three wise men bearing gifts to the baby Jesus, and those gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So we're talking about from the middle of December going to like the first week in January. We have Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and the King's Day. And of course, there are other holidays that come along that fall during the winter time. Okay, first of all, there is Martin Luther King Day, where we honor the achievements of Martin Luther King. There's also Valentine's Day, which is the day for love and friendship. And of course, President's Day, when we honor the lives of presidents. And of course, St. Patrick's Day, which is on March the 17th. Now, another reason why I love winter is because you have outdoor activities where you're able to participate. Okay, some of them have to do with ice skating. Some of them has to do. Okay, uh, this you can do whether you be a child or an adult. Okay, and of course, we do have skating rinks here in New York. Not the most famous is the ice skating rink in Rockefeller Center, where you can go and ice skate. Also, For the children, you can have snowball fights. You can also make snowmen, build snow castles, and lie down on the ground and make snow angels. And of course, another activity that you can do is this is a New Year's Eve. Go outside and wait for the ball to drop in Times Square. Also, every year on Rockefeller Center, on Christmas time, you can go and you can take a look at the Christmas tree, which is in Rockefeller Center, which draws million of spectators every Christmas time. And then there are other activities, some of them a little bit more costlier than others. Here in New York, we have what's called the Christmas Spectacular, where there's a performance that's done on Rockefeller Center every Christmas time, which is basically a series of skits for a 90-minute period. The tickets are not cheap. They're like, I believe, depending which day and what time, it's over $100. But if you're to watch, and of course there are other activities such as playing ice hockey and things of that nature and skating. So these are some of the things that you can do during the winter time. Now, in all fairness, we have to accept the fact that there are people who don't like cold weather. Okay. My definition is cold is different. Okay. But then again, I'm different in a way. But look, there are people who do not like the cold weather. There are people who become fearful of cold weather. Okay. Because what that means is when, in order to go outside, you have to wear layers and layers of clothing, which means, of course, you will need to wear such things as thermal underwear, hats, gloves, scarf, okay, and a heavy coat. And there are people who do not like that. There are people who do not thrive on that. Okay. Another reason why people do not like the winter time is, of course, the days are shorter and the nights are longer. And we all know for a fact that um, December the 21st, that's the shortest day of the year. And of course, people do get depressed because the fact of the matter is it becomes darker much earlier in the daytime. Okay. But there is a bright spot. And that bright spot is that after today, um, the days start to get a little longer. Not much. I mean, it gets a minute longer, a minute longer, and a minute longer. Okay, which means eventually, as we enter into the new year and we approach spring, the days get longer. Also, another issue with when it comes to winter time, there are people who do become depressed because of the partly because of the fact that there is not as much light as possible. Okay, I do acknowledge the fact that people do not like, people prefer sunlight. Okay, and the problem with during the winter time is that we receive the least amount of sunlight during the day. Okay, also it means for many people, um, when you leave your apartment to go to work, you're in darkness, and then when you return from work, usually around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's in darkness. So people are not happy with that. Okay. Also, another reason is, of course, um, during the winter months, I mean, there's not as much activity as far as nature is concerned. The trees are barren because there's no leaves on it, or there are very few leaves on it. Um, and for some people, it could be, it could be depressing. Okay, and I do acknowledge that some people, not be able to see green leaves and things of that nature, it could be depressing. Okay. Also, for some people, um, the winter can be a lonely time. Okay, because people are not as how could I say this? Are not likely to go outside, particularly if they have like a low tolerance for cold. Okay. Well, one thing you do notice that there are people like during the winter months, what they would do is to try to escape the winter. They will go travel to warmer climates. Okay. Usually, they will go either to the Caribbean, um, where it's warmer, or they would some of them, if they have the means, the money and things of that nature, they will travel to South America because while it's winter over here, it's summer over there. Or they might visit if they have the money, they might visit Australia because it's summertime over there. Okay, and you're going to see, and you'll see a big difference. That in the summer months you see more people outside because the weather is conducive to being outside. You don't see as many people outside during the winter months, so it could be kind of a lonely time, and it could be a depressing time. So I do understand that. Okay, let's see. Okay, my apologies. It says every now and then I do have to check and see if there are people watching. Okay. Also, another thing we do have to bear in mind, uh, there are some people who become ill during the winter months. Okay. Now, some people will say the reason why they get sick, it's because it's cold. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you my personal opinion, and it's only my personal opinion, and I don't have any evidence to support what I'm going to say. Okay. Um, it's not so much that people get sick, is that what it is that there are people who go outside who are sick, and instead of staying home, what they would do is they'll go outside, and then what they do sometimes they spread their germs to other people. Now, of course, we were all taught that whenever we sneeze or what have you, then we make sure that we cover our mouths properly. Usually, what we would do is we'll take our left arm and our right arm, and then we'll just cough, okay, into our arm and things of that nature. And of course, when we get home, we will wash our hands and make sure because who knows what our hands have been exposed to. The problem is not everyone has manners. You have people who sneeze and they don't cover their mouths. Okay. You also have people who don't wash their hands. Okay. And sometimes when you when you're out in the public and you're dealing with you're outside with people who should be home in bed, recovering from whatever bug that they have. they are going outside anyway, and so it does. I mean, it is a factor. Okay, now I have been fortunate. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you how. I have really gotten sick in the winter months. But then again, what I do is, first of all, I make sure I dress uh, properly. Okay, make sure I have what I need, which, of course, I wear a hat. Okay, and this is something that I'll never, to this day, I'll never understand. That there are people that will go outside, they will go outside, during the winter months, they'll bundle up to their neck, but yet they will go outside without anything uncovering their heads. Okay, which is which is bizarre for me, because what you okay, first of all, by going outside with your head uncovered, basically what you're doing is all that warmth that you are generating, uh, with all the layers of clothing. What you're doing, it's going through the head. Okay, that's why when you wear a hat, okay, and then you take it off, you notice there might be a little bit of perspiration. It's because what when you wear a hat, it traps the heat. Okay. Now I know people. There are people who don't want to wear hats for whatever reason. Some maybe it's just a case of vanity because they have to show their beautiful hair or things of that nature. But look, there's one thing is vanity, and then there's one thing, being properly prepared. So if if you're going to go outside and you know for a fact that the weather is not it's very cold, okay, as your definition is, then you need to go outside properly prepared. Properly prepared meaning that you have coat, thermal underwear if you need to, scarf, gloves, um, and a hat. Or at the very least, if you're gonna go outside without a hat, at least have wear earmuffs, so at least you can retain some of the heat. Now, again, like I said before, I've been fortunate because I have really gotten sick. I'm not saying that I never got sick in the winter months, but it's very rare. Okay, because I dress appropriately. When I mean appropriately, I mean I wear a hat, I wear gloves, I wear a scarf, I may wear thermal underwear. Okay, I make sure that uh, um, my exposure skin is as limited as possible. Okay, and of course, when I get home, wash my hands. Okay, and this is one of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic taught us was the following. Number one, if you're not well, stay home. Particularly nowadays when you can arrange to have an appointment with, a virtual medical appointment with a doctor. There are many dental medical offices that do provide virtual appointments. Okay. I know Mount Sinai Hospital does, and there are many hospitals that do that. So, if you're not feeling well, then what you can do is, depending uh, the nature of, the doctor, you might be able to get a virtual appointment that way, and just have um, you may be able to have, if you need to get your medication delivered to you, so you don't have to go outside when you're not feeling well. Um, Another reason why people may not like the weather, cold weather, is because it's. I mean, when you go outside, it's barren. The trees are barren. Uh, there's not much life out there. Um, it gets darker more quickly, and for some people, it can be depressing. And only now have I started to realize this. Okay, and of course, all of us have our preferences regarding what is our favorite season. There are many people who, like me, love the cold. At the same time, there are many people out there who cannot deal with the cold. They don't like the cold, okay, because it restricts they feel like it restricts the activities. It's more lonely. It's not the days are shorter, the nights are longer. Okay, I get it. And of course, there are people who enjoy the spring because with spring, with the arrival of spring, it's life returning. The days are starting to get longer. Uh, the weather starts to get warmer. And then there's people who love the summertime, which of course, because with the summertime, you're able to go and do all sorts of activities. First of all, um, the daytime is much longer, particularly going up before the first day of summer. Um, Usually the first day of summer, it is the longest day of the year because it's the most sunlight. And of course, there's a lot of outdoor activities like going to the pool, going to the park, going to ball games, going to barbecues. And then there are people who enjoy the autumn, which means because the weather is cooler, but yet it's still pleasant enough for many people to go outside. There's also such things as harvest festivals. And those who observe Halloween, and of course there's Thanksgiving. Okay, so that kind of explains to you why um, I enjoy the winter, but I'm also mindful of the fact that not everyone share my affinity for winter, and there's also people that they're not happy. Okay, um, because the nights are longer, the days are shorter. Um, people cannot deal with with the cold. Okay, it also seems like it seems like more of a time of death. Okay, which is why people enjoy things like spring and the summertime because it's a season of life, it's a season of growth, it's a season. Also there's more activities. I mean, you can have fun any season, any part of the year. It's just that you have to be mindful of certain things. You need to be mindful of the climate. You need to be mindful of what are the activities that you wish to pursue. You need to be mindful of the fact that there's certain things that are more appropriate um, for certain time in the year. Okay. Obviously, you will not go to the beach in the middle of winter. Now, here in New York, we have a group of people that they're known as the Polar Bear Club. And what do they do? Every day on New Year's Day, they'll go to Coney Island, and what they will do is they'll put on their bathing suits and they'll go outside. They'll go to the water and they start to swim. I have never been a member of the Polar Bear Club. I do not plan to join the Polar Bear Club, and I do not plan to go to Coney Island to swim on New Year's Day. Okay. Uh, as much as I love the cold, I have my limitations. Now, if you're the type of person that you don't have a problem going to Coney Island on New Year's Day and swim in the ocean, my blessings to you. My blessings to you. I prefer not to do that. I mean, I love winter. I don't love winter that much. So let me just check and see. Okay. Now, now, of course, I've shared my views regarding why I like the winter. I also share views regarding why people do not like winter. So, my question to you is, how do you personally feel about it? Do you feel that winter? Do you enjoy the winter months, or do you hate the winter months? That's totally up to you. And of course, here everyone is allowed to express their point of views as you see fit. Okay, so this is your opportunity to share why you either enjoy the winter months or you hate the winter months. Okay, if no one opines, then I'm going to start to wrap this up. Now, of course, just as a programming note, this week's schedule is going to be different. Okay, in the sense that the next time I'm going to be live on this channel will be Tuesday, the 23rd. There will not be, okay, there will probably be, I don't know if I'm going to do a, vi- um, a video regarding my Christmas Eve message or a live, one of those two. In either case, I will express my point of view when it comes to Christmas, okay, and also, of course, wish all of you a very truthfully blissful holiday. And of course, Friday, the December the 26th, I'll have my regular episode of open discussion where I will share my views regarding several topics. Okay. Now, B looks like no one is going to opine. I will start to wrap this up a little bit. Um, just want to let everybody know this is going to be something that's going to be an annual event where I will share my views regarding why I enjoy the winter months. Also, to be fair, I'm going to share why people may not enjoy the winter months. Okay. And all I can say is whatever seasons you enjoy, um, that's totally up to you. So, so I think I have said all that I needed to say when it comes to winter, why I enjoy the winter, and there are people who don't enjoy the winter. Now, I will do a live, probably a short live tomorrow. Uh, Probably going to be on 9 o'clock. I won't stay long on my other channel. I'll be talking about some of the holiday traditions that Puerto Ricans have when it comes to Christmas, being that this is approaching Christmas time. Um, Tuesday's stream will be like basically a recap. So I'm talking about some of the things that I talked about, also some of the things that I plan to talk about for next year. I'll probably be doing a limited number of reaction lives I just have to trying to find a way to do so without getting hit with a community strike. Okay. Now, of course, I can say, free use and things of that nature, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And again, I do understand not everyone enjoys winter, and that's perfectly fine with me. So, with that being said, I am going to start to wrap this up. Okay. So, whether you enjoy winter or don't enjoy winter or whatever time of the year that you enjoy, um, make the best use of it of your time of the year. Okay. And this is the thing that makes us wonderful, unique. Is that all of us is unique. All of us, we have our own particular time of the year that we enjoy, and we should not look down on anyone who do not share our views when it comes to the time of the year that they like. It is what it is, and that's what makes mixing wonderful. Everyone has a preference, and we should all respect everyone's preferences. So, with that being said, of course, to play back game, you're more than welcome to enter whatever comments that you wish to make after the live stream is over. Just make sure that be respectful because any disrespectful comments will be deleted. Okay, it's just that it's my platform. You don't like it? Well, you don't need to consume my content. And with that being with that being said, we're going to close the same way that we always close, which is we must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity. And of course, whatever we say or do, we should do to the glory of God. And again, I really appreciate all of you who has continued to support this channel throughout the year. Not just the people who watch the lives, but also the people who watch and enjoy the short videos. Okay, because I am truly humble and I appreciate the amount of love all of you give me. And of course, I must acknowledge God and thank God for giving me the opportunity uh, to go live, the opportunity to share my views and things of that nature. Also, the opportunity to interact with all of you, whether it be live on the panel or in the chat. And of course, a huge shout out to those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, with that being said, um, I hope all of you have a wonderful week, a productive week, a week full of blessings and things of that nature. And again, let's remember all those um, who are lonely this time of year, that this is a time, this is not a happy time, that people are dealing with the loss of loved ones, people are hurt, people are depressed, things of that nature. So let's uh, be a source of positive thought and actions and prayers. So, with that being said, thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, stay blessed, and peace.